Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lisa Elvin Steltare, and I am a genealogist and a very passionate traveler. Over the last several years, I've been focusing my channel on les filles du roi, les filles mariées, trying to get to know each and every one of these incredible women who really are the foundation of Quebec. And later on, throughout North America, we can see where their descendants have gone. But before we begin today's episode, let me show you ways you can support the channel. The first three keep you in the know. Subscribe, like, and notify. The next are ways to find and help the channel grow. Coffee and Patreon are external platforms where you can support the channel on a financial basis. And then you also have the PayPal button that is on my website, How Roots Will Travel. And on that website, don't forget to look for your episodes and find out which ones I've already done, and if I haven't done it, send me an email and let me know which ones you'd like me to focus on. I have a list, as you can imagine, and on that list. So with that being said, let's get started and look at les filles du roi of this episode. Today's episode is number 263, Denise Damane. And this comes to us from a viewer request. When I looked in my files, I did have her as one of the great-grandmothers of a very dear friend of mine, her husband, and his French-Canadian ancestry. So let's get to know Denise a little bit better. Was born in 1641 in Saint-Jean-en-Grève parish in Paris, France. Her parents were Michel Damane and Catherine Touroux. Now she is part of that Saint-Jean-en-Grève parish, which is found in the 4th arrondissement. The 4th arrondissement, as you know, Paris is laid out in circles, and it is situated on the right bank of the river Seine. This arrondissement is also called Hôtel de Ville. Now, Saint-Jean-en-Grève, the French word grève refers to a flat area covered with gravel or sand, situated on the shores or banks of a body of water, just so you know. Now, this became a parish in 1212. So it was around for a long, long time. This church no longer exists. It was completely rebuilt in 1326, but ultimately destroyed between 1797 and 1800. The area in Paris that she is from now is known for its very quaint little streets and cafes, but it is also regarded as one of the most expensive and congested. It has many, many old buildings and a mix of so many cultures. Definitely an area to visit. Now we know that Denise arrived in Quebec, but we don't know the circumstances. Did her father pass away? None of that I've been able to track down. She arrived on a Jean-Baptiste Dieppe ship on June 18th, 1665. There is no mention of a dowry. Now, Denise's first path in New France was unusual because she went to stay at the Ursuline convent and was intent on becoming a nun, as far as my research indicates. This lovely picture that you have on the bottom, it's from the Picture Gallery of Canadian History. So I have the link if you want to explore that. This is what it looks like now, this particular area. And so obviously she didn't become a nun, but it's just interesting that she had that journey and something stopped her. I'm thinking that something was someone, and his name was René Heuret de Gramont, and he was born in 1629 in Azay-le-Rideau, France. His parents were Jacques Heuret and Marguerite Castillon. Now, this small commune is found in the Centre Val de Loire region. You can see on the bottom circle, and on the top circle, the département or county is Indre-et-Loire. Currently, there are about 3,500 people who live there now. There is a church dedicated to Saint-Foret near the chateau that is interesting for the number of architectural periods incorporated in its design. While the newest portion dates from 1603, the current facade incorporates an older 9th century facade. And so this church is amazing for the history and what it's endured and what it's seen. Now, the Chateau of Azay-le-Rideau was built from 1515 to 1527, so it took approximately 12 years. And it's built on an island in the river Indre, and its foundations rise straight out of the water. It's one of the best known of all the chateaus of the Loire Valley. Just amazing. Can you imagine building a castle in the middle of a river? Now, René would arrive with the Grand Recru. The Grand Recru was 1653, and this was part of the desperate attempt to repopulate Montreal because of the fact that Montreal had existed since 1642 but was absolutely not thriving. So Paul de Maisonneuve decided to go to France and recruit 100 settlers, which he did. And those 100 settlers ended up saving Montreal. There is a plaque in Montreal, and you can clearly see on the right side of, or your left side of your screen, René Auré de Gramont, and that is the testimony that he was on that ship and was part of what saved Montreal. Now, what's interesting about René is that he did do some time in Montreal, and he was actually an Indian translator, but he left the Jesuits, and presumably was because they married in Trois-Rivières. Presumably, this is where he found himself. So about 12 years after his arrival is when he and Denise obviously meet and marry. So October 26, 1665 is the marriage. We do not have any concrete marriage records that survived. So their first real home would be found at Trois-Rivières. Now, Trois-Rivières has a very wonderful history. It's only the second actual city of New France, and it was named Trois-Rivières because of the St. Maurice River, which has 3 channels that form at the mouth of the St. Lawrence. Trois-Rivières is French for 3 rivers. It was known in the English parts as 3 rivers for a very long time, and as the French reclaimed their French language, if you will, we ultimately ended up changing, and now even English people call it Trois-Rivières. But when I was growing up, my father, English father, would call it 3 Rivers. My mother would call it Trois-Rivières, but I knew it was the same place, of course. Now, Trois-Rivières has a very strategic location on the St. Lawrence River, and it helped this new nation grow and prosper. It also proved to be an important battle in the American Revolution, the Battle of Trois-Rivières. Some of you who have ancestors in this area at that time might be surprised that you might qualify for admission to the daughters or sons of the American Revolution. Now, in the 1666 census, we have René and Denise. He is considerably older than her, 36. Habitant simply means farmer. And 25 is the age given to Denise. Next, we find them in Cap de Madeleine in 1667. You see in the census report, René is 35. He hasn't aged a year, but Denise has. And then it tells us that they have 7 arpents valables, so about 5 acres of land, 4 to 5. Cap de la Madeleine, which of Madeleine, was founded on March 20th, 1651. The establishment was named by Jacques de la Ferté, who was the abbot of Saint Madeleine de Châteaudun in France. And this city is absolutely famous for its basilica, Basilique Notre-Dame du Cap, dedicated to Our Lady of the Cape. The basilica receives thousands of pilgrims and visitors every year. Pilgrims are drawn to this area because it's considered to be the place where 2 miracles have been performed. First being the miracle of the ice bridge in 1879, and the other being the miracle of the eyes in 1888. The first official pilgrimage occurred in 1883 and consisted of roughly 150 people who traveled here by foot. And so you will often hear Cap de la Madeleine known for this area. I love showing this picture of the Cape and the shoreline because it really, for me, it resonates with how it would have looked when Renee and Denise lived here. Now, the next census in 1681 finds them at Champlain. The Champlain municipality lies on the territory of the former seigneuries of Marsolet and L'Herbe à la Croix. And the seigneury of Champlain was granted on August 8, 1664. The first French occupants of Champlain settled here in 1664 and 65. There had been a first attempt to settle 20 years before, but the distance from other settlements at that time and the Iroquois threat discouraged settlement. So by 1664, the first settlers arrived in the land of the Seigneurie of Champlain. The following year, in 1666, concessions were granted in the Seigneurie of Hertel, and in 1667, the Seigneurie of Marsolet. Now, some of the first families that came from Three Rivers, such as the families of Antoine Desrosiers, François Chorel, and Pierre d'Andonneau. I give you those names because the odds are, if this is your ancestry, you probably at some point intermarried in this family. Now, the 1681 census, we have René and Denise. Enfants are René, Denise, Catherine, Jean, Joseph. They have 2 guns, 3 bêtes à cornes, which is about 3 horned animals. It could be goats, could be, some sort of cow, not a cow, but, a bull. And then we have 15 hectares malades, which is about 12 acres of land. Go on to have 10 children. René would die at 8 years of age. Pierre would not marry. Marie-Thérèse would marry Pierre Caillat and have 8 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. Marie-Denise would marry René Couillard and have 3 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. René's mother was Jeanne Bilodeau, who is a fille mariée who we have not yet profiled. Catherine would marry Jean-Baptiste Bourgain, but not have any descendants. His mother was Fille du Roi Marguerite Sanson, who we have not yet profiled. Jean would marry Marie-Renée Lefebvre and have 2 children, all of whom would make it to adulthood. Joseph would marry Marie-Antoinette Dubar and have 5 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. Marie-Jeanne would marry Joseph Dominique Dubar, 7 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. Joseph's mother was Catherine Gaillard, whom we profiled in episode 214. Alexis married Marie-Madeleine Dutot and had 3 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. And finally, Marie married Jean-Baptiste Dubar and would have 6 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. Passed away in 1704 at the age of 63. She and René would have been married 39 years. She actually died 1 month shy of their 40th wedding anniversary. René would pass away at age 64 in 1706 at the age remarkable of 77. So ends the story of Denise and René. They were 2 people that were very different. I mean, here he comes on Le Grand Recrue. They end up, she tries to become a nun, and then they find each other, and they go and explore different places and finally settle at Champlain, which I find just amazing that they just kept going on. They left us with 64 descendants as of 1729, but obviously their line has continued. So we want to thank Denise for her contribution, for her sacrifice, for her ability to withstand so much. And we are grateful for her presence, and we are blessed that she came to our shores. Thank you, Denise. And I want to say thank you to my patrons, supporters, and subscribers. You all are just so wonderful and very supportive. I totally appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much. And with that, I will say au revoir until I see you on the next episode of Les Filles du Roi.